For the last week, Turkey, with its associated groups in Syria, has launched a military campaign against the YPG in the north of Syria, in Afrin. And in line with international law, Turkey has justified its intensive military attack, pointing to a number of legal justifications that I'm asked to provide an assessment on the legal claim that Turkey is making. These legal justifications are firstly the self-defense. Turkey has applied the right of self-defense against YPG. YPG is a non-state actor, which means that state should take the opportunity to defend itself against any military attack by a state or a non-state actor. Firstly, the self-defense, it's coming under Article 51 of the United Nations Charter. And before the 9/11, the only states could use the self-defense against another state. But after 9/11, also the states has used the self-defense against non-state actors. But before we go into the detail of the self-defense, it's important to outline that YPG, whether it has attacked Turkey or the Turkish sovereignty before Turkey resorted to a military campaign against YPG in the north of Syria. For me, I have researched in the past few days that there is no clear evidence that YPG has launched any military campaign or any military attack from north of Syria against Turkish sovereignty. Of course, Turkey has the right as a state to defend its sovereignty against any military campaign, but it is also important to know that these rights are used against which non-state actor, because in the north of Syria there are so many non-state actors, and YPG as a Kurdish force in the north of Syria has been in coalition with the United States for the last 5 years, and that's the main ground force that defeated ISIS with the United States. And the United States has not mentioned that YPG has ever attacked the sovereignty of Turkey. And this is very, very important, because both the United States and also Turkey are the members of NATO. And any attacks on the sovereignty of one member of the NATO, it's attack on all of them. So United States will not accept YPG to attack the sovereignty of Turkey. Secondly, Turkey has used another excuse or legal justification to attack YPG. It's a plea of necessity. What does it mean by the plea of necessity? It's that it's a kind of launching a military campaign against an non-state actor inside another state's territory that the hosting states cannot prevent these armed attacks. Of course, if YPG has launched any military attack against Turkey and Syria is not able to prevent it, it is the right of Turkey. But YPG has not launched any military attack, and if we see that at this moment Syria is a failed government, which means that Syria cannot prevent any non-state actors in the region, and YPG with the help of the US tried to maintain peaceful and stability in the region. And it's important that Turkey works with the United States in order to decrease the conflict and the tensions in the region, rather than creating more problems and more conflicts by attacking Afrin, because that will create more refugee flow from north of Syria into Turkey. Thirdly, it's important. Turkey is justifying its military attacks that its sovereignty has not been respected. Of course, it's important that international law is based on states, and sovereignty of states is the cornerstone of the international system. Syria, in its current situation, status quo, Syria is not able to function well, and other non-state actors inside Syria take the opportunity and take advantage of the turmoil inside Syria in order to create more political gaps and military gaps, to create more problems and create more tensions between the religious sects. And if we look at the situation in Syria, the more tensions is between the religious sects, between Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims. And YPG, it's basically a neutral non-state actor in the region. Not the least is Turkey claims that there is a threat to its sovereignty, to its national security. And these threats is created by YPG. We need to understand before we go into this detail, we need to understand that why YPG is a threat to Turkish national security. Turkey sees YPG as an offshoot of PKK, and also there are about 25 million of Kurds living in Turkey. So it is important that YPG has not any agency link with PKK, because YPG is formed from the Kurds in Syria. And of course, I mean, Kurds in Syria are very interrelated with the Kurds in Turkey. And there are about 25 millions of Kurds in Turkey who are deprived of their natural rights and basic human rights. Their political rights, their economic rights, their social rights are violated. Even according to the constitution in Turkey, does not recognize the Kurds, and the Kurds in Syria are very interrelated to the Kurds in Turkey, because they are only divided by the borderlines that was created after the First World War. Therefore, Turkey sees this as a problem, that having a Rojava entity in Syria will also affect the Kurds in Turkey to ask for an entity inside Turkey. But it's important Turkey to negotiate and restart a peaceful solution with the Kurds in Turkey and also in Syria, rather than to resorting to an armed, a military campaign against the Kurds in Syria, which creates more instability in the region. As the United States insisted that Turkey should concentrate, focus on defeating ISIS at this moment, rather than to attack YPG, which is the main force in the region against that's able to defeat ISIS. Therefore, the claim of self-defense, the claim of pleas of necessity, that Turkey national security is under threat, it is really questionable. There needs to be a very impartial and objective investigation into this claim, and the Security Council needs to send a team in order to impartially assess the situation before the conflict goes further.